The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And you're back again with us on our second segment of today, which we will discuss anything to do with the Durian Heat, which is more on interviewing people actually. So today, Gowri, we have a topic on
Sexism, which is a very interesting topic, and we have a few guests in the studio, not just one today.
We don't really talk much about sexism, especially, in the radio show. So it's kind of exciting to have three young, really, I would say enthusiastic girls, because I can hear your voice from the outside. We have.
She's trying to say you guys were noisy just now.
So welcome to the studio, Kristine Yap from WAO and Evie Gomez from AWAM, and also Aliah Ali from Sisters in Islam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So perhaps a bit of introduction about you guys, what you do within your organization.
Okay, so I'm Evie. I'm from AWAM.
Oh, so shy.
I'm the communications officer. So I handle all the social media and the publicity and the interviews.
And how did you get involved?
Well, I studied sociology and communications in university. So I was looking for a job that would combine the two, and this was a perfect fit. And I saw they had an opening, so I tried. And I got it.
And now you're here.
Yeah.
And you, Kristine?
Pretty much a similar story, actually. So I work at Women's Aid Organization, WAO. I'm a communications officer as well. Also my first job, I graduated in communications as well as gender studies and international studies. So yeah, we're here today.
And you, Aliah?
Okay. So my name is Aliah, and I'm also the communications officer at Sisters in Islam. So how I got acquainted with Sisters in Islam was because I was extremely attracted to what their stand was on transgenders and also on gender relations. So then I applied, and well, here we are today.
Here we are today. You guys are from a women's rights group, but the focus of your organization, is it similar to each other, or you have very specific focus on the kind of work that you are doing? I know for Sister in Islam is more towards Muslim women.
Yeah. Well, all of us, I guess, we have the underlining similarity, which is for gender equality. However, we have our specific focus. So for CIS, it's more on Islamic family law. And for WAO, I think Kristine can explain what their focus is on.
Yeah, for WAO, our focus is on providing services and advocacy work for victim survivors of domestic violence.
And for AWAM, we focus on rape issues and sexual harassment, and we also offer services like legal information and counseling.
I see. So it covers almost everything that I need to know about women's rights, almost everything.
Hopefully, yes.
But so how did you come up with this event called AWAM Awards? Because to us it's really fun, and it's about women, of course, but it's also about trying to address the issue of sexism in a sexy way, I suppose.
So basically, AWAM is an annual event. It started in 2012, so this is our third year doing it. And it's a JAG event, and JAG is the Joint Action Group for Gender Equality. And basically, we're a coalition of 10 NGOs, and 3 of us represented here today. There's 7 more. So basically, it's a spoof awards. It's meant to highlight awareness on what constitutes sexism, misogyny, homophobia, and transphobia. And we're trying to use it to encourage higher standards of behavior from public figures or institutions in relation to gender and sexuality.
Anyone wants to add on? AWAM?
Well, I just wanted to add, because AWAM is a spoof awards, and I think it's a very funny way in tackling various sexist statements, because we read these statements and we just think, how can somebody say these things? So I think it's kind of a funny way to have a very tongue-in-cheek kind of approach, instead of, because apparently serious approaches doesn't work, so either we laugh it off, but we say, okay, you know what, this isn't okay, and we make fun of it as well. Yeah.
But how does this campaign really work, if you can give us a little details?
So basically what we do is we get a list we make a list of all the previous year's statements that were sexist, homophobic,
From?
transphobic, public figures and
Okay.
institutions. We make the list, and then once we have the whole entire list, we categorize them into 7 different categories. We've got a lot of categories, actually. We've got categories like foot in mouth, insulting intelligence,
Okay.
cannot ignore.
So it grows along.
Yeah, so there's the 7. And once we've categorized the statements, we put them online on a voting platform, and then we give the public 3 weeks to vote for which one they think is the worst in each category. And then basically the AWAM Awards is presenting the award for whichever one wins in the category. For the worst statement. Yeah.
So before we dwell into details about AWAM, I think a lot of people might need to know about the issue of sexism. So this is the serious stuff. What is considered sexism anyway? Because for men and women, it's kind of a blurry line when men say something, they think it's funny, but to us it's sexism. But how do you actually draw the definition of sexism?
Okay, so sexism, I think we need to remember sexism isn't exclusive to one gender. So sexism, in my opinion, is a form of discrimination based on someone's gender and or sexual orientation. So it's not based on the person's actual qualities or their abilities to do something, but just based on what they are. Okay, and it's very unfair because you kind of like you associate a person based on an assumption of what they're supposed to be, what their gender roles are, and when this happens, you reduce individuals to what they're not, because humans are all multifaceted individuals, and if we constantly reduce people to strict gender codes, then we're not gonna grow as individuals. Yeah.
But why do you think people still do that at this point of time?
Why do people still divide? I mean, not divide.
And reduce individuals to certain stereotypes.
I think because it's easy. It's easy that way, and maybe because what we've been taught. If from young age we've been taught, okay, women are supposed to act in a certain way and men are supposed to act in another way. So a simple example would be men are always the leaders, and then suddenly a woman says, no, but I can lead as well. Then it ruins the social fabric, right? But we never question if the woman is actually able, but then we just think, because she's a woman, so maybe it's not a good idea. But with that we ask them why, but there's no actual concrete argument. It's always, because she's a woman and we're probably not used to that, or she should probably go on her period and get emotional. I mean, we've all heard this before. Right. So like these arguments are all very moot and very, it doesn't make sense, right?
But some form of sexism can be very subtle and usually in the form of jokes that you don't even get it until you realize that actually they are trying to stereotype you into this kind of person, which is being a woman you are supposed to do this, do that, but being a man you have a better or a greater opportunity on certain things. Do you ever have that kind of a personal experience?
Yes. I'd say like in university, just friends making jokes and not realizing. The worst part is they don't realize that they're being sexist. It's because it's so inbuilt into people's brains that they've been brought up this way. They've learned these things from school or from family or from friends that they don't even realize that what they're saying is sexist, which is sometimes the worst part if you're not even aware.
Do you have any personal experience?
Yeah, likewise. In social circles, with family. And the thing is, when you call out that the statements that they say, the so-called jokes that they say are sexist,
and they call you sensitive.
Yeah, exactly. The first response that you get is like they become defensive, and instead of examining why the statement that they said was hurtful or sexist, people are like, they blame it on the person who pointed it out instead. And I think we really need to make room for it to be safe and comfortable for people to talk about these things.
But it's quite common, right? If you want to fit into that boys club culture, usually you would give excuse to yourself like, okay, I cannot be too sensitive on those remarks, or I need to not be too hurt on every single sentence that boys say, for example. And but in reality, what actually is the main problem here that we need to address?
Well, I think interesting that you mentioned that, right? Because when women want to venture into politics or climb the social ladder, we're always told, oh, don't be too sensitive. And this ties back to my point just now about assumption of gender roles or gender behaviors. For some reason, we think only women are sensitive. We forget that men can be sensitive as well. And why is it that the trait being sensitive has always been reflected in a negative light, right? And wait, what was the question?
The question is, I guess in reality, like the kind of culture that we are living right now, especially the kind of boys' club / sexist culture. I suppose, I don't know how widespread it is, but it changed a lot. The kind of attitude we have towards others, in the sense that we actually have to tell ourselves not to be sensitive about it and to just bite the bullet rather than addressing the issue at hand.
The responsibility always seems to fall on women's shoulders. We have to act a certain way. We have to be the one to find the perfect work-family balance. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think there's a double standard in how women are perceived and judged. For example, at a job interview, women probably get questioned more that okay, you have a child, how is that going to affect your work life? I want to see a man being questioned the same thing. So why is there that double standard in judging and perceiving women?
You're actually spot on. I mean, there are examples of women not being employed for a job because she's pregnant. The employer would question her, I don't want to give her 3 months of break. It will be a loss to my company, which I think is actually quite sexist in a way.
I don't know if you guys remember the Beatrice Fernandez, the mass stewardess, where her contract was terminated because she got pregnant. And this is a perfect form of discrimination, because you discriminate somebody based on because she got pregnant. And the problem with this is the fact that clause was in the contract that a woman cannot get pregnant.
Nobody questioned it.
Exactly, nobody questioned it. Yeah.
And do you have any other example of experience? Any growing up in university? I mean, growing up is at home, in university, and at school. Were there any incidents or friends that you know that were faced in a situation where it's blunted sexism in your face, but they could not do anything about it?
Well, in the workplace, I think one form of discrimination that women have to always tolerate and not be able to talk about is sexual harassment. And the worst thing is it's always from their boss, a male boss. And that power imbalance results in this my female friends having to just kind of bite the bullet, because if they say something, it might affect their job, and then they're going to have to look for another job. So that's a problem, because instead of being able to find a safe channel to lodge a complaint, to say I've been sexually harassed, they have to kind of, no, it's okay, I need to think about my job, nobody will probably believe me because of this power imbalance.
So anyway, we'll take one short break. When we return, we will talk more about the categories.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And we are back again on our Ayo Watla Awards. We have 3 young ladies here from Sister in Islam, AWAM, and WAO, which is Kristine Yap, Evie Gomez, and also Aliah Ali, sharing their views on sexism and, of course, the awards as well.
And of course, speaking of sexism, I think one thing that we cannot ignore and we have to bring this up is what happened at the recent Oscars, where they came up with this whole hashtag called Ask Her More, because whenever they're on the red carpet, the guys are the ones who always get asked all these deep questions about, how did you prepare for your character? What did you do physically, psychologically? And then they move to the women, and they're like, what are you wearing?
I like the mannequin
what
though.
was your diet? Yeah. And it seems that became quite a phenomenon as well, especially on Twitter. And what would your comment be on that?
Well, I like watching the Oscars every year, so it's really interesting to see the changes over the years. And I think this year's Oscars, a lot of the actresses are quite, I say, fed up with the way that they've been asked questions. So it's really nice to see them, fighting back against the interviewers. Like, you would have actresses like Cate Blanchett saying, you don't ask the men these questions. Why, do you ask the women these questions? And then, of course, there's the whole manicam situation where they ask the actresses to show the manicures to cameras. And then the actresses are just saying no these days. They don't want to do that. They want to be asked actual questions. So it's just great to see the change, that's been happening over the years.
And hopefully it catches on worldwide.
But that's the reality, right? Women are not being taken seriously, even though on an event like the Oscars, where they are supposed to be on the same pedestal as men in this award. I mean, you yourself, I'm sure you've been being put in that situation where they ask your male counterparts, like, all the serious deep question, and then they ask you like, oh, so what are you wearing today? Oh, why your makeup is so cute today?
But I mean, it's shocking that it happens at the Oscar, because we usually would have the perception that the Western countries would be, far off more progressive. Well, apparently, yeah. Which, of course, that's why the Oscars was such a shock. And it seems now in 2015, like you were saying, it's great that they are finally speaking up against the stereotypes and say, hey, ask me how I prepared for my character as well, instead of just this questions about diet and designer labels.
And it's not just the Oscar, even our Malaysian politicians and Malaysian public personalities are doing the exact same thing. Perhaps this is the reason why you should highlight to us who are the contenders for this year's Ayo Watla's awards.
Categories as well.
Actually, the thing about Ayo Watla is we try not to point out specific people. But it's more about the statements that were said. So we're not actually targeting people or institutions.
So what are the most outrageous statements?
Okay, well, Kristine has a list.
Yeah, I have a very long list. We actually do have a very long list. It was
like
very
half
difficult.
An
It was actually really difficult to choose like what was the worst. Right. But yeah, sexism is. The level of sexism is perverse and pervasive. I mean, some of the examples I have here is like targeting certain female members of parliament and judging them on how they choose to present themselves and how they dress. A male politician has angled an insult at a female member of parliament that she should be subject to body searches at airports and not him, which is just so like I can't believe where do I even start with that? Yeah, that's one of them. It's disturbing to think that a grown adult man in parliament can have the cheek to so easily to refer to some woman's body as public property. And there are also examples of like smear campaigns against women politicians, the policing, the control of women's bodies and how they choose to dress, saying that, oh, your knees are showing.
It's like the Oscars, where instead of judging women based on their ability to become politicians, we say, oh, that dress is too short. What is that color? So basically,
but it's quite dangerous, because let's say you are tabling a really important policy in the parliament, but instead of covering what you actually table, whether it is good or not, that's another thing. But instead, the focus would be on yourself. Let's say you wear something that probably other politicians might not see it as decent, quote unquote. Then the whole focus will be on what you wear rather than what kind of policy you're tabling.
Exactly.
And it's quite dangerous, because then you are dumbing down the society as well as the credibility of or the level of discussion within the parliament itself.
Like, who decides what is decent anyway, right? And for some reason, it's always men who tell us what's decent or what's not decent instead of other women. And then why why is it that men cannot control themselves? I mean, knees are just knees. I don't know why that's
What's
an
so
issue.
bad about
yeah.
But it's also the duty of media to not over-report some of these crazy remarks, because there are times where you see the media. I mean, I've been to events where there's so many things happen, but instead the media focus on the most outrageous thing this one particular sexist politician would say, rather than focusing on other things. And then it's just the whole shift of the event that is being reported in the media suddenly focus on that particular sexist remark rather than other things. So,
Well, can I take this one? Yeah. Because I was thinking we shouldn't ignore sexist remarks, right? That's one. However, like you said, Arlene, there seems to be too much focus on that. We need to focus on that, and also what's important as well, because I think sometimes mainstream media does tend to sensationalize things, and so I think women politicians have a harder time trying to prove their point, trying to say, here's what I can offer society, because that's not interesting. That people don't want to read that. People want to read sensational news. And
I mean, even on young woman politician in Malaysia, for example, I mean, I'm not naming names, probably you already know, like, rather than focusing like her brains or what she can offer to society, is more about what she wear, how cute she looks, how many male fans she has, like all these very petty issues that nobody cares.
Right.
You want to share something?
I feel like I'm hogging the mic.
Yeah, well, no. Yes, something that is very similar to what you mentioned is actually one of our nominees. So yes, it's the constant putting women in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, such as her biological functions. And indeed how she looks, sometimes not even how she dresses, but simply because of her face. And how is that policy decision making stuff? I really like this quote that our host Joe said at last year's awards, which is, we had a similar nominee about someone commenting on a woman's way of dress, and her comment on it was, because apparently Parliament is not for you to do policy stuff, but apparently it's the chance for you to become a fashion consultant.
You can search for that on YouTube.
Yes.
Our last year's award, so you want to check it out. Yeah.
I want to ask about women itself, because we've been talking a lot about men spewing sexism comments, but when it comes to girls, they tend to be contributing a lot to that as well. Like we were talking about during the break earlier about how they say, oh, diamonds are a girl's best friend, or like, I need my shoes and bags, and this tends to perpetuate that even more and give people the impression that, okay, so a way to a woman's heart is just through shoes and bags, and that's all I need.
Yeah, I think it's always important to remember that women also buy into the patriarchy in the way that they talk sometimes. It's not just men who are saying sexist things. Women are also saying sexist things. And that's just because, they may not be aware that, they're buying into the whole patriarchal society.
Yeah. This is also a category which is titled least helpful to the sisterhood. So look out for that. And interesting that you mentioned diamonds are a girl's best friend and shoes, because I mean, not every girl can afford these things,
Can you share with us some of the quirky remarks in that particular
in the least helpful
category?
to sisterhood?
Yeah, I do have one actually. Yeah, we have a comment that says something like, "Don't ask for so much. Don't say I want this, I want that. Men don't like it. Am I right? You can persuade. We have a secret weapon, so we should use it." So this is one of the comments that is nominated, and it was made by a woman. So yeah,
in quite a high position as well.
Indeed.
It looks like she just read the book called Men Are From Mars.
Sound like it, yeah.
But what about like the music videos these days as well? I don't want to be naming names as well, but we see a lot of music videos where the girls are not so much focusing on their voice, but more on like how they dress and going at it towards in that direction.
Let's see. This is interesting because women have been told this is a perennial problem. We've been told what is beautiful, what is not beautiful, so we focus more on what we should look like. And I think that's for me maybe I've gotten over that, but I think about younger girls, 14-year-old girls who are so impressionable, and media tells them get the latest dress, get the longer lashes. So we're constantly told that what we are isn't good enough, and maybe that's why music videos, TV shows, you see this very generic standard of beauty that women or teenage girls think they need to follow, and it's ridiculous because we don't all look the same. Women come in different shapes and sizes, and we're all beautiful. Okay, yeah.
So what are the other categories that you have that are equally outrageous or not more?
Well, we've got one called foot in mouth. That one is basically a public statement that it's misogynistic or homophobic or sexist or transphobic, and the speaker didn't mean for it to be that way, but he or she put their foot in their mouth, and they didn't mean it, but it just came out that way. So that's one of our categories. Another one is insulting intelligence, which is a statement or act that is so blatantly false or illogical. There's no way that they can expect the public to believe what they just said. Yeah.
But that's pretty. I mean, whoever that would be placed in that category is pretty outrageous, I think.
Yeah.
But what are the examples within that category?
Oh dear. Where should I start? Okay, so for one of the insulting intelligence nominees, we have someone saying this was a comment on same-sex marriage, okay? And his comment was that Malaysian mothers would be forced to face the harsh possibility that the partners of their daughters could have bigger breasts than theirs someday. So that is an example of an insulting intelligence kind of nominee. It's like, where did you even get that from? How could you have the cheek to say that in public?
I would imagine the person actually have a night job in stand-up comedy.
The scary thing is this is said in like a serious context, and
yeah, that's the scary part. But when people talk about women, especially people in position, decision-making position, they tend to say things without even thinking. I don't know whether it's a culture, like say things without thinking for almost everything, but in particular on female issues, they seem to feel that we are just a joke to be made fun of, or whatever that they think about us are just simply an object to be amused by them. But why within the Malaysian culture there's this very subtle, very arrogant as well in terms of how the culture is very I guess another word could be called patriarchy, but I guess I would call it like a boys club culture, where there's this one club of people who just like to make fun of other people, and most of the time it's the woman.
Yeah. Boys club, an interesting choice of words, because it is we still pretty much live in there's this boys club, and then women seem to be on the sideline, and and notice how in Malaysia, like in the political sphere, social sphere, women have had to take secondary roles. It's either we've been put there, and after years of conditioning, now we're kind of that's fine, we'll just be the supporting actresses.
I'll make the coffee.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, we can do more than that now, right? How many women do we know work today? I mean, we all have mothers. Some don't work, but both are equally important jobs, with especially in informal sectors where mothers who stay at home, it's easier for people to make fun or to downplay the importance of this because we undervalue domestic work, and it's actually one of the toughest jobs because think about it, working mothers, they don't get paid, don't get recognition. It's an endless job, it's an endless cycle. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? So just why women are always the butt of jokes or criticism, and we seem to be held to a higher moral standard as well.
I think sexism and patriarchy is so ingrained in general consciousness in society that people, like what we said just now, people don't even realize that comments that they make can be sexist. Which is ironic, really. I just had this thought, like, who was the person who brought you to Earth? Your mom. And there is so little value placed on...
But that's the thing, right? They see us as a factory to make babies.
That is true.
But nothing more than that. So when it comes to leadership position, it's not a natural it's not a natural position for women to be in. So for women, the very rarest women who hold high position, it seems as an achievement, as if it's something that is unusual. But in reality, it should be of an equal footing for both men and women to be able to do so if they want to do so. I mean, holding leadership position. So how can we address this? It's such a huge issue, and the word patriarchy, I get freaked out when I hear the word patriarchy because I think for both men and women to understand the reality on the ground is to actually understand I would say the reality on the ground rather than using bombastic words. So if you guys were to address this issue effectively, other than of course organize this Ayowatla Awards, which is really cool, what are the things that you would do personally?
I think on an individual basis, I always try and call out when somebody around me, like my family or my friends, says something sexist. I'll always try and call it out, and I don't really care anymore about being seen as the feminist killjoy or whatever, because I've passed that level of caring about what people think. But I think it's just important to let people know that what they're saying is not right, and then they'll be more aware of it in the future.
So you have your own Ayowatla Awards, is it?
Yeah, my personal one.
But how do you deal with it when they say like, oh, chill lah, don't get so worked up? What would your comeback be?
Well, I used to get super annoyed by it, but now I'm just ask them why do you think that it's alright to say those things, and why am I being, the one who's being told to chill out when you are saying the sexist thing? Like, you have to think about why there's that double standard there.
I read about this way that you can counter that is you act like you completely don't understand it, like, and you're like you sincerely ask, wait, how is that funny? And watch them try to explain the joke.
Why it's funny.
Okay, that's one skill I need to learn.
I have two younger siblings, right? One is a 7-year-old girl and another one 11-year-old boy. So what I do on an individual level, I try to like my sister, I always tell her, you're beautiful because you're funny, because you're smart, because of all these things. And like she's 7, she's like, what are you talking about? But you will understand when you are older. And like for the brother, if he says anything about what I wear, then I just go off. What do you mean? You will not be the kind of guy to tell women what they wear. And then he also goes like, what are you talking about? No, you will appreciate all of this when you are older, when you are a feminist. So
I thought you were saying to the boy, you're handsome because you're sorry.
I'll do that too, I think.
So yours is more like nip it in the bud strategy.
No, we need to end gendered language, guys. I mean, especially from a young age. Let's stop this ridiculous pink for girls, blue for boys. Boys can wear pink too if they want, and
But Gowri, how do we usually would address sexism? I would actually turn everything into a joke.
Well, yeah, that's one way, but I think it's a very tricky thing, especially like what Evie mentioned.
Yeah.
It's always about like, oh, come on, I didn't mean it like that. Why do you have to like take my sentence out of context? But they don't realize that you can say it as a joke, but when you keep saying it, eventually it becomes more like a culture that everyone believes in, and they think, hey, there's nothing wrong. Everyone says these things.
I totally agree with you. But I think another way to end sexism is for us to, to just be proactive. I'm not preaching LinkedIn by Cheryl Sandberg. I'm definitely not going there. But usually, whenever I'm in a setting where probably 99% of the participant or whoever that is in that room is men, I try not to be the silent one. I try to speak up more. Do not try to highlight, hey, there's a female in the room. Hello.
But don't you find that funny? Because often I find myself in those situations as well, doing international relations, which is a male-dominated field.
Yeah, me too.
Right? It's a male-dominated field.
Yeah.
And in those situations, I feel like we women have to try harder to be heard. And some men can say the weirdest, I was going to say stupid, but then I thought it would be mean, but the most politically incorrect statements, and that's fine. And women, we have to try twice as hard. And what does that say about society? Right?
And the funny thing about IR, international relation, when men say it, it sounds intellectual rather than women say it, which I found it to be like, this is sexist. I still remember when a man says something like, he has this theory about relationship about China and the US, but to me it's like, this is just, I don't think what you say is right, but because he has that accent,
they
that
sound
macho
confident. They appear confident, but then we can call it out like, no, that's kind of nothing much. But then because there's this male presence, then everybody pays attention. It's ridiculous.
I think we need to fix our area in terms of sexism.
Maybe personally, like what we were talking about earlier, what's the worst thing you've heard as an individual? The worst sexism comment, sexist comment, sorry. Or maybe I can start.
I know. I'm just like, my whole life just flashed me about what.
When I was younger, actually, I wanted to learn drums and guitar, and my mom said, no, that's for boys. You can't learn drums and guitar. Are you crazy? And that kind of I would say impacted my life a lot, because otherwise I'd be like,
you could have been a musician.
You could have been, because I really felt so strongly about it, but I wasn't allowed to do it, and at that time I was still under my parents, and also I didn't have much of a choice either. So what about you guys, close friends or parents, relatives?
For me, like experiences of sexism have always been in school. Especially from Ustazah. I don't know why. Like in agama class. Because I remember sometimes I would wear pinafore, sometimes baju kurung. Ustazah didn't like pinafore very much. I don't know why. They were very happy with that. So
actually the design is quite ugly, so.
You were playing fashion consultant as well.
But they weren't very happy with what I wore, even though it was still uniform. So that was one of the form of simple discrimination I faced in school. Sexism, actually.
Actually, I faced the exact same thing as you. Like we were forced to wear headscarf just to go to agama class, which is kind of weird.
It was weird, and I never understood that.
So, what about you guys? Maybe not religion, maybe.
No. Yeah, what I can think of is, again, like a double standard. For example, if I want to go out at night, my mom's like, oh, you better take care of yourself. And I know it comes from she means well. I don't have any male siblings, but I would imagine that if I had a brother, she probably wouldn't say the same thing to him. And when I ask, like, friends, girlfriends or male friends, boys don't get told the same thing, like, oh, bring a rape whistle or bring pepper spray. What boy brings pepper spray? So,
that's totally. But your parents' concern, right, in terms of women, we have to be more careful than men. The streets are not safe enough for us. But the responsibility is always on us rather than on either the government or whoever or the society or the community in charge. So there's also another form of very subtle sort of sexist messaging
That's
yeah,
systemic.
it's like that quote that says, "Don't teach me what to wear, teach your sons not to rape."
Yeah, exactly.
Because like she was saying, why is it always has to be our responsibility? Like, hey, you can teach your sons too to make the streets safe for us. What about Evie? Do you want to share?
I think for me, mostly it was between me and my friends. Just, I guess, the double standards in girls who date a lot and who don't. Like, you know, the names that get called for girls who like to go out a lot with guys, or you know, they get labeled a certain way. And girls who don't also get labeled a certain way. So it's like there's no middle ground. Yeah,
which one do you want me to be?
Yeah. So I think that was mostly what I've experienced, because my family always tried to be not have gendered roles, and you know, be no sexism in the house ever with my family. So it's mostly with friends for me.
So they label you for your dating.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say like me personally, but I just see it around with my friends, the way they label other women for the choices that these women make. Like if they want to date somebody, or if they're going out, you know, if they have several boyfriends at a certain time, or you know, no boyfriend at all. Oh, you're a prude. If you have too many, oh, you're, you know.
You can't do anything.
Yeah, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, yeah, if I may give a Hollywood example, like Taylor Swift is being called all sorts of names, but John Mayer has dated a ton of women. I don't see anyone calling him names.
People talk about his music so much.
Exactly.
People
like
value
what a
his
genius he is.
But they don't do the same with women, and you can clearly see the double standards there.
Yeah, but let's talk about Ayo Watla.
Yeah.
We're moving. We have another few minutes. Do you only cover issues really? Outrageous comments by politicians, or do you also cover celebrities, musicians, or any lay Malaysians? Lay person.
We cover statements by public figures and institutions. It just so happens that sometimes politicians take up a lot of the categories because they have the space and to be able to say these things a lot, and then it comes up in media a lot. So that's where we get our examples from.
I see. Yeah. But in the future, do you would like to expand the category to people? Like normal Malaysians who say the most outrageous thing, but maybe it was reported in the media that you. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, this one Malaysian celebrity that said something quite sexist during the International Women's Day. I don't know whether he's part of the category or not, but it caused quite a stir among the Malaysian public at that time.
Yeah, I think that was a matter of him posting up a picture. Yeah. So not so much a statement. So that was this year's International Women's Day, which was March the 8th. So how the awards work is that the 2015 awards will cover statements and actions that happened in the previous year. So this one covers from 1st of January 2014 until 31st of December 2014. So maybe that might come up next year, so watch this space.
Still got a lot of time.
He might be the lucky one or unlucky one.
He might be the lucky one indeed, or unlucky.
So how can people get more information about the awards?
Well, we have a Facebook page. If you go into Women's Aid Organization's Facebook page, you can get the link to the event.
Can you share the link of the event?
It's the event URL is kind of long, but if you go to any of our organizations' Facebook pages, whether it's Sisters in Islam, Twitter or Facebook, Sisters in Islam, WAO or AWAM, we'll be posting lots of like teasers and there'll be stuff there. So do like us
and follow our hashtag.
Our hashtag Ayo Watla.
The hashtag is Ayo Watla. That's Ayo with a H, Watla. Yeah, the Malaysian style. Ayo Watla hashtag. So just check out any of our social media sites. It's all there. We have posters and pictures as well. Yeah, so it's all really interesting.
But if you can just name the link, because I think I stumbled upon last 2 years. It's a Tumblr link. For the Ayo Watla Awards. If it's for this year, what's the full link? Can you remember?
We it's not ready yet, so that's why we're kind of like, okay, keep keep an eye on our Facebook pages. And yeah, like I said, there'll be teasers, and once the voting is up, we'll be sharing that link on our social media accounts.
And we'll share it at Durian ASEAN as well.
Yes.
March 30th is today. Watch out.
That's when voting
March
starts.
30th. Which day is that?
Monday.
Monday.
And then it will close on April 18th. So we've got about 3 weeks to vote.
I see. So vote whoever that you think you like.
You like.
Quote unquote.
Yes.
And of course, final question. What's next for Jack in terms of addressing sexism or any events that Jack will be doing?
Well, the main one that JAG does every year together is AWAM. But then individually, like our own organizations within JAG always have our own events annually as well.
And we can check from your respective.
So we can check.
Can you share the link from your organization, all of yours organization, so they can go to your website?
Oh, our Facebook, AWAM's Facebook is AWAM Malaysia, and our website is awam.org.my. And our Twitter is also at AWAM Malaysia.
Okay.
So for WAO, our website is wao.org.my. You can find us on Facebook with Women's Aid Org, and it's the same for Twitter.
And for Sisters in Islam, very easy. Just Google Twitter, Sisters in Islam. It's there. Facebook, Sisters in Islam. And our website, www.sistersinislam.org.my.
And then again, thank you everyone for coming to Durian ASEAN. And
thank you for having
sharing
us.
Thank you for
this.
having us.
All the best for the Ayo Watla contenders.
Hopefully the best
Don't
wins.
forget to vote.
Don't forget to vote. Yes, 30th April.
Bye.
All right,
Bye.
Bye.